My name is Jenny Spangler. I am the assistant cross country coach and assistant girls track coach at Grays Lake North High School. Today I am in downtown Libertyville in front of the 847 Running Company to talk running shoes. Let's go inside. Who is one of the owners of the 847 Running Company. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Of course.
So when I started running way back in the late 1970s, there was like maybe 5 or 6 running shoes to choose from. Fast forward 2020, there seems like hundreds of shoes. And for me, it's extremely confusing and overwhelming to figure out what shoe works best for me. But before we get to that, I just curious, like, okay, my sisters and mom and I, we all have the same size shoe. What's the big deal about having a pair of running shoes that fit you specifically?
Well, you may wear all the same shoe size, but most likely you don't have all the same gait, the way you lay your foot down, the way you push your body up off, and the way you strike down onto the ground. And the same over and over and over. Secondly, once you've put a few miles on a brand new pair of running shoes, it fits to form that foot and that gait pattern. The foams, they mash down a bit. Your foot kind of makes the shoe its own after a while. That's why a lot of people talk about breaking in their shoes, because, you know, even if you are the same size, perhaps your shoe bends a few millimeters farther back or farther forward on your foot than it would on maybe your sister's or your mom's or what have you. So it's really important to have a dedicated pair of running shoes just for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure that would prevent injuries possibly too, and messing up with your running gait. So, okay, cool. So how do I know when my shoes are worn out? How do I know when it's time to retire a pair of shoes? Is there a general guideline that you use?
Generally there is, yeah. We usually talk about it in terms of mileage in my industry, and it very much depends on the quality of the shoe that you start with. So if your shoe starts out at, say, only a few millimeters of stack height here and here, you know, maybe talking about in the high teens to low 20s in millimeters, you can generally get somewhere around 250 to 300-ish miles out of them. This also depends a lot on the weight of the runner and the type of running you're doing, how much speed work you're doing in this shoe, so on and so forth. But generally it's somewhere between 300 and 500 miles until the shoes are pretty much beyond the point where they're doing you any good.
Okay. Like for me, I don't always keep track of mileage on my shoes. I know it's probably ideal. Is there anything else, mainly that, you know, they're just kind of squished down, or sometimes I hate to say it, but my knees start hurting. So I'm like,
oh, how do you get a new pair of running shoes?
I know that's not the ideal thing to do, but
very often that has to do with the fact that as a shoe's foam breaks down and wears in, they become much more flexible. So we choose shoes for folks based on flexibility a lot of times. You want a good stiff resistance there, especially through the arch. We all expect shoes to bend really easily through the toe, but right here through the middle of the shoe, directly in the center, if you can fold it right in half, you're not doing yourself very many favors.
Okay. Oh, that's a very good tip.
Very good.
One thing I do know is here at 847 Running Company, you collect retired shoes. Can you talk about that and what do you do with them?
Yes, of course. We have a 50-gallon barrel in the back that's full of smelly shoes. And we send them off to a charity that breaks them down and recycles what can't be used. What is in good enough shape to be reused is sold into small second-hand economies in the global south.
Oh, okay.
So
nice.
they do have a life after your miles. So say if you run a lot of miles through the winter on the treadmill, maybe your shoes are done for underfoot, but still look relatively new.
Right.
That shoe can have a life after your running miles.
All right, that's good to know. So I don't just need to throw them in the trash. I could bring them here.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so let's get on. I want to buy a pair of shoes. I walk in the door. I say, Cal, I need a pair of running shoes. What are just a few basic things that you would ask me or you would go through to find out what shoe was best for me.
Sure. We start by having you kick your shoes off. We'll have you stand up. Usually I have folks stand on one foot.
Okay, so here, so if I should take my shoe off, okay? All right, so I'll stand on one foot?
Yep, if you stand on one foot for me, and then you put both feet down and face that direction for me, please. Feet shoulder width apart. And then if you can do just a small squat, you don't have to go all the way down, just a half squat or so. I'm looking at the heels. I'm looking to see if you can get down without lifting the heels up. Okay, back up for me. And then one more time, down. Good. Wow, you're flexible. Nice work. And I'll generally have you walk out and back and then do some jogging on the treadmill in the first couple of pairs of shoes that I bring out, just to get a good feel for what your gait pattern looks like, where you're striking, where you're pushing off, where your hips are at, where your feet are at relative to your hips and body. And we'll talk about your history, injuries, recurring injuries, overuse injuries that come around, any hot spots or bothersome points in any footwear you've ever had before and any footwear I have on your feet in the store. And we'll just generally sort of discuss what kind of road feel you like to feel, what kind of conditions you're going to be running in, and what your purpose is. So if you're a cross country or track runner, that's a very different purpose than, you know, the average marathoner who walks in, road runner who walks in.
So there are different types of shoes. If I'm going to do the 400 on the track, or I'm a sprinter, 200 meter, versus if I'm going to compete in 3200 cross country or even a marathon.
Absolutely, both for training and for racing.
Okay, got it. And you do have spikes here as well, right?
Oh my, yes. We probably have the best selection of spikes that I know of in, a 50-mile radius, maybe.
Oh, nice.
No, it's big. We have quite a good number of spikes. And I try to do the field spikes too. So if you've got some field folks, I try to bring a throwing spike and some jumping spikes.
Oh, okay, very cool. Well, thank you for taking the time today, Cal, out of your busy schedule to meet with us. This has been great. Happy running, everybody.
Oh, you're so welcome. Happy running.